Today, you are listening to Awaken the Inner Alchemist, 33 Principles to Transform Your Pain into Power and Live with Purpose. You are on the podcast, and you will listen to principle number 5, let go to grow. So I want to talk to you about, this is the principle I have in my book about letting go to grow. And I've learned that from the hard way. Because when I was going through mold, I had a toxic mold, I had arsenic in my body, and I had to really let go to grow. And what I was doing now is I was trying to control everything that was going on in my life. And didn't trust my doctors, didn't trust the process of what needed to be done. I was always looking on the internet, what's the way to solve this problem? What is the problem that I'm going through? And just looking for, these are my symptoms. And lo and behold, it's like originally we kind of thought that I had adrenal fatigue because I was doing excessive amount of keto, as well as I was doing hot saunas, cold plunges, and so basically putting my nervous system, training my nervous system, but I overly trained it, and everybody was saying you're going through oxidized stress because of how you're pushing your body, and yet I lost my sleep, and the doctors were kind of saying, hey, you need to go ahead and add more carbs into your life because you are suffering from insomnia. But when it comes right down to it, it was like I was doing that for months, and it wasn't until like months later when we finally found out that I had heavy loads of arsenic in my body, as well as heavy loads of mold that were in my body, and because of that, I was able to find like the sources. I found the source of where I got the arsenic. It was from the water that I was drinking, and as well as what caused my nervous system to be a wreck was because of the toxic mold that I was living in. It went all the way from my master bedroom all the way to my utility room on one side of the house completely, where I had to rip out a good 2 to 3 feet of from the floor to the top, rip out the outside as well as the inside, ripping that out to the bare studs and getting that treated. And that was a thing where once you get that treatment done, that's where I kind of felt like I could start, I was able to finally let go. And what I mean by letting go is I had to surrender to the process and instead of trying to control things. So, what is your take on letting go to grow?
Yeah, that's a really powerful story and a perfect setup for the whole let go to grow principle. I think what you went through is such a strong example of how sometimes the real growth only happens when we stop trying to micromanage everything and trust the process a bit. You had to let go of that urge to control every detail, let go of the fear, and just let yourself trust the journey of healing. And that's not easy, but it's exactly how you end up growing through it. So my take is that letting go to grow is about releasing that tight grip we often have on how things should be and allowing room for new solutions to show up. It's about realizing that sometimes growth requires surrender, letting go of old patterns, letting go of that need to have every answer right now, and trusting that by doing so, you're actually opening yourself up to real transformation. In other words, when you stop holding on so tightly to control, you make space for the growth that you've been aiming for all along. And that's a lesson that can apply to just about any area of life.
Like I wrote in my book, I wrote 10 essential types of release. And it was like, 1 is the art of not doing. 2, accepting change. 3, letting go of the outcome. 4, letting go what doesn't serve you. 5, letting go helps you grow. 6, letting go of control. 7, shifting from ownership to service. 8, creating space between you and the emotion. 9, stop shooting on yourself. 10, anchoring your purpose, not the outcome.
I love that breakdown. And it's such a great set of principles to capture the whole idea of letting go. Each one of those points really hits on a different angle of how release isn't just about giving up, but about creating room for something better. So yeah, it ties right back into that let go to grow idea, whether it's releasing the need to control, letting go of outcomes, or just not shitting on yourself. It all comes down to freeing yourself up so that real growth can happen. It's a great summary of how to live that principle out in daily life.
You know, when I look at like one of the ones that I filter in my life is let go of what doesn't serve you, because I look at things in my life that if I'm doing this, does this serve me or not? And you can even apply that to relationships. Is that person serving you? And it doesn't mean like when a person hears that like literal, like saying I'm going to service you and provide this to you. It's about meaning that you are feeling a certain thing about like the relationship, meaning like it's serving you, that you have a goal, you have a purpose, and is that person there with you in that goal, helping you achieve that goal, or are they persuading you and going off to a totally different path? Because sometimes people disrail you, or there's people that will empower you. So it goes back to when I talk about letting go what doesn't serve you, it's about more of is it empowering you?
Absolutely, and that's such a great way to frame it. It's not about someone literally serving you in a transactional sense. It's about whether that relationship, that habit, or that environment is genuinely empowering you and aligning with where you want to go. Sometimes letting go of what doesn't serve you is just about recognizing that certain influences are pulling you off track or draining your energy instead of lifting you up. And once you identify that, it's a lot easier to focus on what truly moves you forward. In the end, it all ties back to that core idea of being intentional about what you hold on to and what you release. Because when you let go of what doesn't empower you, you make room for more of what does.
Yeah, and then one thing that I got which is stop shooting on yourself, and that came from from a lot of the training I've done with Tony Robbins. Is that, you know, should I do this or should I do that? I should have done that. It's just it's a lower vibrational energy of just shooting, and kind of going with instead of it being replacing your should, you know, you can replace it with a could, because it changes at a different level. Because of could, it's like I could do this, I could do that, because it changes the power in the words that you use. When you think of saying should, it feels kind of like I don't know, maybe you can express this a little bit different if thinking about the should, because I feel it in my body, is that it's kind of draining me, that you're demeaning yourself, rather than on the, you know, could. It's like I could do this, I could do that. It gives you more of a power stance, power perspective.
Absolutely, and I think you're spot on with that language shift. When you swap out should for could, you're actually giving yourself a lot more freedom and a sense of possibility. Should can feel heavy, like an obligation or a judgment, whereas could is more empowering. It opens the door to options and choices rather than making you feel boxed in. So yeah, just that little tweak in how you talk to yourself can change the whole energy of a situation. It's another great tool to add to that let go to grow mindset, replacing self-imposed pressure with a sense of possibility. And that shift really does give you a more powerful perspective to work from.
Thank you so much, because I couldn't find those words, because I knew it was in the tip of my tongue, and it's part of that whole thing of recovering from my mold toxicity, because I was suffered a lot from the brain fog, and my thoughts are there, but I couldn't express those words because I knew exactly what it was, but I couldn't really express that. So thank you so much. I want to go ahead and you know, it's like sometimes in life, you know, it's a thing of it. You're overcoming, and that's the whole thing about letting go. You know, letting go of your past, and letting go of what things used to be. It's about embracing the new day.
You're absolutely welcome, and I totally get it. Sometimes you've got the idea right on the tip of your tongue, and it just needs a little nudge to come out. Especially when you've been through something like dealing with mold toxicity and that brain fog, it's a big deal to be able to reclaim those thoughts and put them into words. And you're so right, part of letting go is really about releasing the past and embracing the present moment. Every day is a new chance to move forward with that fresh perspective. So keep going. You're doing great, and it's all part of the journey of turning that pain into power.
Yeah, and here's a thought-provoking question for the listeners. What's one thing you need to release to make space for what truly matters? I want to leave the listeners with that, as well as think about that, and then let them ruminate on that, and as well as go with every day with that type of thought-provoking question: does this provide for me? Is this empowering me? Everything that you do, everything that you say, everything that you're listening to, and if it doesn't, just let it go, because we constantly feel like what's going on in today's society, where people are just constantly just bombarding you with actions. You have to think before you say anything, and does it serve me? Going back with that filter, so you can let go. When a person says something, let go, because that's where the growth is just letting go and walking away, because there is no sense on just going on with the disagreement or that argument or whatever it is, and a person they're just coming from a different perspective, and maybe they want to start something with you, and the power is in the walk away. I see this a lot with leaders, where some leaders, they're still stuck in their ego, and instead of them being like, that's very understandable, it's like you think this way, but let me put it in a different perspective. Instead, they go right away have to attack, and that's where I kind of feel like the part of letting go is also, it's about your letting go of the control, letting your ego control everything. Do you agree or not agree?
I absolutely agree. I think that's a perfect note to leave people with, because that question, what do I need to release to make space for what truly matters, is really a powerful filter for everyday life. When you apply that lens, you start to see that a lot of the things we hold on to, whether it's an argument, an expectation, or even just that should mindset, don't actually empower us. And when we let go of that, we free up a lot of energy to focus on what truly moves us forward. And you're right, leaders who are able to let go of ego and control tend to find that they lead more effectively and connect more deeply with others. So it's a great reminder for everyone to consider what they can release so they can grow into that more empowered version of themselves. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and want to say that this was principle number 5 in my book, to let go to grow, and the book is Awaken the Inner Alchemist, 33 Principles to Transform Pain into Power and Live with Purpose. And you can find this book at your bookstores. It could also be found on Amazon.com. I also have an audio book. So you can look on Audible and you can find my audio book. It's a 2-hour listen, and it will transform your life. These are just principles that you can go ahead and that you can live by, as well as you can teach your kids by these principles. Yeah, and you'll gain some knowledge and gain some wisdom. So you guys have been listening to Awaken the Inner Alchemist podcast, and thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure walking through these principles with you, and I think it's a fantastic note to close on. So for everyone listening, definitely check out Awaken the Inner Alchemist if you want to dive deeper into these transformative ideas. And of course, whether you're reading it or listening on Audible, it's all about taking those principles and living them out day by day. So thanks again for tuning in. And remember, let go of what doesn't serve you, embrace what empowers you, and keep transforming that pain into power. Thanks for listening.